So, those of you who know me know I grew up Catholic. Growing up Catholic meant I went to catechism classes every week. I had my first Holy Communion when I was in first grade, dressed as a little bride. Still don't get that. Those of you who know what I'm talking about. I was confirmed when I was in 8th grade. And I remember the weekend before confirmation having a conversation with my mom and dad about some of the doubts that I was having. It got a little bit heated. And I remember as I left the room, I heard my dad say to my mom, "Well, at least she's really thinking about this." I went through with confirmation and continued going to church because that's what I was supposed to do. It's what my brothers did. That's what my parents did. That must be the right thing to do. Just don't think about it. Thinking about it is what causes problems. And maybe that's the beauty of it for some people. Religion is something they don't need to think about. It's one thing in life they do not need to make a decision about. For me, though, I think it was the main reason why I eventually became frustrated with religion. I felt like I was not supposed to think. I was just supposed to memorize, recite, kneel, sit, stand up, sit down. So I'm a scientist, for those who don't know. I have a master's in education, and I have a PhD in neuroscience. The idea that I am just supposed to take things on faith and never have any data to support it is in stark contrast to the way my mind works. I want to see a graph or a spreadsheet that tells me why something is true. In fact, in doing research for this, I found studies that suggest people who are more intuitive thinkers are more religious in general, whereas the more analytical thinkers tend to be less religious. That may be sort of intuitive to us, but I needed a data set that said that. And in fact, when I was at a service one time, a priest said, "Catholics do not believe in euthanasia." My mind immediately went to, why don't we believe that? Am I not Catholic if I believe in euthanasia? Am I not a Catholic if I believe a la carte? And my mind expanded to other religions. If someone who is Jewish eats pork, are they not Jewish? I started to realize that, in my view, religion was kind of like an exclusive club. If you believe what we believe, you're good. You can hang with us. But if you don't, you're doomed. Now, before I go any further, I want to put a disclaimer in here. I am not bashing religion as faith. I will never tell someone that something that brings them comfort is wrong. If you believe in the Book of Mormon translated by Joseph Smith from the Golden Plates, that's amazing. If you find comfort in the religion and the words of Quran about the wisdom of Allah, that's beautiful. I truly believe religion can be and is awe-inspiring. There are amazing stories that are told in religious texts that, whether they are actually true or not, are life lessons to be learned. And when religious leaders take advantage of people who do not want to think about religion and find comfort in not having to make a decision about what to believe, that's when I feel like we run into problems. So, back to my story. I grew up believing that Jesus would one day come back. I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I actually had large Band-Aids in my room in case his hands and feet were still bleeding. I was 8 years old. I didn't know if his wounds would be healed after almost 2,000 years. There wasn't any data on that. The stories about him were so amazing and resonated with me as a child. All the stories about Jesus that I read were about his love of humanity and his passion for justice. Why couldn't more people be like him? He loved everyone, even those who treated him poorly. I remember the song we used to sing, "Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so." And why wouldn't I believe that? He didn't reject anyone. Surely he would love me as well. And I think that is the beautiful part of faith. That's what grounds people. I would probably still be a practicing Catholic if that were what it was all about. But it's not what it's all about, is it? When I was in college, I worked at an allergy and asthma doctor's office. I performed allergy tests and other lab work on patients. One of our patients was a person high up in Catholic leadership in Los Angeles. I won't say his name, HIPAA and all that stuff, but I did his allergy testing. Now, I know I shouldn't have started this conversation, but those of you who know me know that if someone's going to do something inappropriate, it's going to be me. So I figured I had him here. He couldn't really get away from me. I was doing his allergy testing, so why not? I told him he was the one that came to my church and confirmed me years ago. I went on to tell him that I recently went to a service where, instead of a homily on the gospel, the priest did his homily on how we should support an anti-euthanasia group. They even passed out special collection envelopes for this group. It felt really too political for me, and I will go ahead and recognize the extreme irony of me feeling that Catholicism was too political only to end up here, but I digress. The patient replied that it is important that we appreciate the sanctity of life and that we let God decide when we leave this earth. I asked him where in the Bible was the anti-euthanasia clause. We went back and forth about this for a bit, and then I finally said I thought it was okay to someone to decide about their bodily autonomy. He replied with, well, maybe you should think about if Catholicism is truly where you belong. At first, I was devastated by this. But the more I thought about it, the more I was grateful. He gave me permission to leave, and I think that's what I needed. Since that time, I have not considered myself a practicing Catholic. I know what my faith is and was, and what I believed, but I struggled with reconciling that faith with the religion of Catholicism. Unitarian Universalism doesn't reject faith, but it encourages us to make our own decisions about our beliefs and our faith. Asking questions, changing our minds as we learn is encouraged, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Suggesting that someone leave our community because they disagree about a matter of faith or belief, as the allergic priest did with me, would be unthinkable here. So I now think of myself as more of a UU with a Catholic heritage. And I still believe to this day that Jesus is a great teacher. In fact, I firmly believe that Jesus is UU. I mean, I think he would be at every single Black Lives Matter march. He would be at every Pride celebration. He would want to make sure everybody, no matter who they were, have food and water. He would welcome all immigrants. He would answer the call of love. After all, the song is Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. It is not Jesus loves me, but only if I'm a cis white heterosexual. I really wish more people talked about the Jesus that I grew up learning about, not the one that has been co-opted by certain fundamentalists today. Which brings me back to thinking and religion. Like I said before, I think part of the comfort of religion to some people is that they do not need to critically think while they are in church or temple or wherever they worship. Unfortunately, many religious leaders take advantage of that and use it to twist and mold beliefs, sometimes into something dangerous. There is most definitely a place for thinking in religion, much like we changed our thinking today with the candle during Together time. Thoughts can evolve and beliefs can change with new information. Just like we tell our coming of age students, find what you believe right now, knowing that it may change in a year or 5 or 10 or 20. For example, there is no place in the Bible that says, do not eat meat on Fridays. Yet most Catholics, at least during Lent, do not eat meat on Fridays because it's tradition. It's what tradition says. What if we just questioned the tradition more? I can't help but wonder where we would be today if more religious leaders taught their congregations to think instead of just blindly following. Would we have fewer people who have religious trauma? Would we have fewer people who blindly follow dangerous political leaders? Sadly, I get the feeling that we will never really know the answer to that. My message today, though, is go. Read the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Book of Mormon, anything, and see the beauty in these stories. Well, okay, the Old Testament can be a bit rough, but you'll read about Esther and she's a badass, so it's worth it. Let's not bind people to a religion, but to their values. Instead of asking, what religion are you? Let's ask, what are your values? I truly believe that in all this religious trauma that many people have experienced, there is some beauty to be found in the faith behind the religion.